Is the Lamb. We start this Easter 212. 132 in Yoruba, hymn 212 in English.
Amen.
「 Amen.
「 Amen. 」 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 Amen. « 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 Amen. 」
Passover is sacrificed for us. Therefore, let us keep this feast. Now Christ is risen from the dead and became the first fruit of them that slept. For since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam all died, and as in Son of God all made alive. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, ever shall it be, world without end. Amen. Worthy is the Lamb. The choir will be leading us in praise and worship.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Amen. Glory be to God in the highest. Amen. Glory be to God in the highest. Amen. For his mercies endureth forever. Amen. For his mercies endureth forever. Amen. Glory be to God. Glory be to God in the highest. Amen. Glory be to God in the highest. Amen. For his mercies endureth forever. Amen. For his mercies endureth forever. Amen. Ibare Jesu, Ibare o Baba, Ibare Jesu, Baba, Ibare o ọmọ Ọlọ́run, Ibare o Baba rẹ̀ Jésù, Ibare o Baba, àjùbà rẹ̀ o ọmọ Ọlọ́run, Ibare o Baba, àjùbà rẹ̀ o ọmọ Ọlọ́run, Ibare o Baba. Ibare Jésù, Ibare o Baba, Ibare Jésù, Ibare o Baba, àjùbàrẹ o ọmọ Ọlọ́run, Ibare o Baba, àjùbàrẹ o ọmọ Ọlọ́run, Ibare o Baba. Hallelujah. What a marvelous God, what a marvelous God, he has done marvelous things for me. What a marvelous God, what a marvelous, he used to do marvelous things for me. Hallelujah. What a marvelous God, what a marvelous God, he has done marvelous things for me. What a marvelous God, what a marvelous, he used to do marvelous things for me. What a marvelous God, what a glorious God, he has done marvelous things for me. What a marvelous God. What a marvelous. He used to do marvelous things for me. Hallelujah. What a marvelous God. What a marvelous God. He has done marvelous things for me. What a marvelous God. What a marvelous. He used to do marvelous things for me. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi já sí àánú. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi já sí àánú. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi já sí àánú. Ó já sí àánú. Olúwa ṣe òwe. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi já sí àánú. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi já sí àánú. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi já sí àánú. Ó já sí àánú. Olúwa ṣe òwe. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi já sí àánú. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi já sí àánú. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi já sí àánú. Ó já sí àánú. Olúwa ṣe. You are God. You are not just big, oh. You are not just large, oh. You are a great God. You are God. You are God. You are not just big, oh. You are not just large, oh. You are a great God. You are big, 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 big. La, 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 la. Oh, grace, 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 grace. You are a great Jehovah. Jehovah, you are the most high. Jehovah, the most high. Jehovah, you are the most high God.
Worthy, worthy is the Lamb of God. Please let us pray. Almighty God, the Father of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the one that gave his only begotten Son for us, just to die for us, to cleanse us from all our sins. We thank you, O Lord, for the death of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ on the cross of Calvary. We thank you, O Lord, because Christ at the end conquered death and rose from the dead. We worship you, O Lord, because he perfected the work of our salvation. That is why we can come to your presence with boldness, with joy and happiness to say, Hosanna. Thank you, Lord, for what you have done, for what you are doing, and for what you are still going to do in our life. Lord, accept our thanks in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Here we are, O Lord, acknowledging ourselves as sinners. We ask, O Lord, in every aspect of our life that we might have caused short your glory. We ask in your infinite mercy that you look unto us from the throne of mercy and forgive us, O Lord. Baba, forgive us all our sins in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Lord, we invite the Spirit of the living God to this sanctuary afresh. We pray that the Spirit of the Lord take preeminence even from the beginning of this service to the end, O Lord. Baba, take control in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Lord, we pray in this service, let there be restoration in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Of every dead entity, Lord, we pray that they will receive the power of restoration in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. At the end of this service, O Lord, we pray that all of us, we might have been blessed in Jesus' name. And the grace to return all the praises back to you, Lord, give us. For we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory.
The hymn 123 in Yoruba, English 204. The hymn 123 in Yoruba, English 204. Prophet Jeremiah chapter 31, beginning at verse 1. Prophet Jeremiah 31, beginning at verse 1. At that time, says the Lord, I will be with the God of all families of Israel, and they shall be my people, that says the Lord. The people who survived the sword found grace in the wilderness, when Israel sought for rest. The Lord appeared to him from afar. I have loved you with an everlasting love, therefore I have continued my faithfulness to you. Again I will build you, and you shall be built, O Virgin Israel. And again you shall adore yourself with timbrels, and I shall go forth in the dance of merrymakers. Again you shall plant vineyard upon the mountains of Samaria. The planters shall plant, and shall enjoy the fruit. For there shall be a day when watchmen will call in the hill country of Ephraim, arise, and let us go up to Zion, to the Lord our God. This is the word of God. Matthew chapter 28. Matthew chapter 28, beginning from verse 1. Matthew chapter 28, beginning from verse 1. Now after the Sabbath toward the eve of the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and other Mary went to see the sepulchre. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven, and came, and rolled back the stone, and sat upon it. His appearance was lightning, and his remnant white as snow. And for fear of him, the guards, trembling, and became like a dead man. But the angel said to the woman, do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here, for he has risen. As he said, come, see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples that he has risen from the dead. And behold, he was going before you to Galilee. There you will see him. Lo, I have told you. So they departed quickly from the tomb with fear of great joy, and ran to tell his disciples. And behold, Jesus met them and said, hey. And they came up and took hold of his feet and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, do not be afraid. Go and tell my brethren to go to Galilee, and there they will see me. This is the gospel of Christ. The hymn 133 in Yoruba, 215 in English. The hymn 133 in Yoruba, English 215.
Please. Please, let us pray. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, Almighty God, we bless your name for another opportunity given to us to see our Sunday. Our Sunday is here. Christ is risen. Christ is no longer among the dead. We thank you, O Lord, for the victory that you gave your Son over death. We thank you, O Lord, for restoring the hope of human race. We thank you, O Lord, for everything you have been doing for us since the inception of the world. Lord, accept our thanks in Jesus' name. Amen. Here we are. We want to listen to your word, O Lord. We pray that you speak yourself to us so that we can conceive you in another dimension today. Lord, do so in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. The speaker and the hearer of this word, let all of us be blessed in Jesus' name. Thank you, Lord, because you've answered, for we prayed in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Worthy is the Lamb. Worthy, worthy is the Lamb of God.
Yíyẹ ni ọ̀dọ́ àgùntàn náà.
I want to use this opportunity to greet all the Christians throughout the world.
Mo fẹ́ lo àkókò yìí láti kí gbogbo Kristẹni ní gbogbo àgbáyé.
Because our Sunday is here.
Nítorí pé ọjọ́ ìsinmi mìíràn tún ni èyí.
The Sunday that Jesus Christ resurrected from the dead.
Ọjọ́ ìsinmi tí Jésù jíǹde kúrò ní òkú.
That they cannot be able to hold on to Jesus Christ more than 3 days.
Tí ìsà òkú pàápàá kò tiẹ̀ lè dádúró kọjá ọjọ́ mẹ́ta.
I pray that if the coming of Jesus Christ tarry,
Mo gbàdúrà pé tí Jésù bá dé
we
kọ́kọ́.
will live to witness more of this day.
A ó jọ wà láti rí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìsìn.
I want to appreciate God for the opportunity given to me by the authority of the church
Mo fẹ́ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run àti lọ́wọ́
to be the
àwọn
one that
aláṣẹ
will convey the mind of God to the world today.
láti jẹ́ ògbufọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ Ọlọ́run àti ẹni tí ó mú ọ̀rọ̀ Ọlọ́run tọ̀ wá lówùúrọ̀ yìí.
What we want to ponder on today
Ohun tí a fẹ́ jíròrò lówùúrọ̀ yìí
is theme
sí àkórí rẹ̀ wípé
Christ's resurrection, our hope.
àjíǹde Kristi ìrètí wa.
Christ's resurrection, our hope.
Àjíǹde Kristi ìrètí wa.
And the text is taken from Matthew chapter 28,
A sì mú ibi kíkà wa láti ìhìnrere Mátíù orí kejìdínlọ́gbọ̀n
verses 6 and 7.
ẹsẹ̀ kẹfà sí ìkeje.
I read. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he laid. Then go quickly and tell his disciple, as he has risen from the dead, and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Now I have told you. Praise the Lord.
Ẹ jẹ́ ká yin Olúwa.
Jesus Christ is the reason for this season.
Jésù ni ìrètí
Is the
àkókò.
living among the dead.
Òun ni alààyè tó wà láàrin àwọn
Is
òkú.
the only one death cannot withhold.
Ẹni tí ìsà òkú pàápàá kò lè
Let's go
dádúró.
back to the memory lane.
Ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ sí àkọsílẹ̀ àtẹ̀yìnwá.
About 2050 years ago,
Bí 50 ọdún ó lé ní
the
ẹgbẹ̀rún ọdún.
powerful forces of this world plan to kill the infant Jesus,
Àwọn alágbára ayé yìí tí wọ́n gbìyànjú láti pa Jésù ní ọmọ ọwọ́.
but their plan failed.
Ṣùgbọ́n ìpéjọpọ̀
This
wọn
set
kùnà.
of these evil forces,
Àwọn ènìyàn ibi wọ̀nyí
they used the Roman political power
wọ́n lo agbára Róòmù
to crucify Jesus Christ our Lord.
láti kan Jésù Kristi Olúwa mọ́
Little do
àpèlé.
they know that they are working in line with the plan of God to
Láì-
save the man race.
Láì tiẹ̀ mọ̀ wípé ara ètò tí Ọlọ́run tún ṣe ni àwọn ń gbìyànjú láti
They are
tẹ̀lé.
working towards the plan of God to give us eternal life.
Wọ́n ń ṣiṣẹ́ nípa ohun tí Ọlọ́run ti ṣètò rẹ̀ láti gba
A
ẹ̀mí ènìyàn.
sea tomb cannot contain Jesus Christ.
Ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ pàápàá kò lè dá Jésù dúró.
Even the second pond cannot contain Jesus Christ.
Ìsà òkú pàápàá kò lè gba Jésù
He
dúró.
tried to host Jesus Christ,
Ó gbìyànjú láti há mọ́.
but just for 3 days.
Ṣùgbọ́n fún ọjọ́ mẹ́ta péré.
Thank God our Sunday is here.
A dúpẹ́ pé ọjọ́ ìsinmi wa tún ni èyí.
Thank God our Sunday is here.
A dúpẹ́ pé ọjọ́ ìsinmi wa tún ni èyí.
Hallelujah, Easter is here.
Hallelujah, ọdún àjíǹde tún
Easter
dé.
is all about Jesus Christ.
Àjíǹde ń sọ nípa ti Jésù.
It's about his death.
Ó ń sọ nípa ikú rẹ̀.
It's about his
Ó ń
resurrection
sọ nípa àjíǹde rẹ̀.
at the grave. It is not about the beautiful clothes that we have for
Kò
Easter.
ní í ṣe pẹ̀lú aṣọ dídára tí èmi
It
àti
is
ẹ̀yin
not
rà fún
about the
ọdún.
basket of coconut and crate of egg that we bought.
Kò tiẹ̀ ní í ṣe pẹ̀lú ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ agbọ̀n
Look at the world today.
ẹ jẹ́ ká wo àgbáyé lónìí.
Many people have prepared already how big they will celebrate this yearly
Àwọn
festival.
ènìyàn tiẹ̀ ti ṣètò bí wọ́n ṣe ṣe àjíǹde ti ọdún yìí lọ́nà tó
But
lárinrin.
the whole wide world are locked down.
Ṣùgbọ́n gbogbo àgbáyé ló wà ní títì.
Does that mean that our Easter is cancelled?
Ṣé èyí túmọ̀ sí wípé ọdún àjíǹde
No,
fagilé? Rárá o.
Our Easter cannot be cancelled.
A ò lè wọ́gilé àjíǹde.
Easter gives us hope.
Àjíǹde fún wa ní ìrètí.
The hope of life after death.
Àjíǹde àyè lẹ́yìn ikú. Ìyè
Easter
lẹ́yìn ikú.
shatter all the fear.
Àjíǹde lé gbogbo ẹ̀rù lọ.
Easter give Christian victory that Jesus Christ is alive.
àjíǹde Kristi ó fún gbogbo Kristẹni ní ẹ̀rí wípé Jésù ń bẹ láàyè.
Mary Magdalene and the other Mary,
Maria Magdalene àti àwọn Maria tó kù.
they went to the tomb of Jesus Christ early hour of the day.
Wọ́n lọ sí ibojì Jésù ní kùtùkùtù òwúrọ̀.
They went with spices
Wọ́n lọ pẹ̀lú tùràrí
to anoint the Jesus Christ body.
láti fi tún ara rẹ̀ ṣe.
As they were going,
Bí wọ́n ti ń lọ.
I want to believe that they are contemplating
Mo mọ̀ pé wọ́n máa rò ó nínú ara
that
wọn.
who will help them to roll the stone at the tomb.
Pé ta ni ẹni tí ó bá wa yí òkúta tí a
But
yí díẹ̀ nù.
alas,
Ṣùgbọ́n
as they approached,
bí wọ́n ti ń súnmọ́ ibẹ̀
the stone have been rolled
àti yí
aside.
òkúta náà kúrò.
Glory be to God.
Ògo ni fún Ọlọ́run.
Our Savior is no longer in the tomb.
Jésù Kristi wa kò sí nínú ibojì
Our
mọ́.
Savior has risen.
Jésù wa ti jí dìde.
Look at what happened in the account of John.
Ẹ jẹ́ ká wo àkọsílẹ̀ tí a rí nínú ìwé
John
Jòhánù.
chapter 20.
Jòhánù orí ogún.
If you start the reading from verse 4,
Tá bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ kíkà láti
the
ẹsẹ̀
Bible
kẹrin.
recorded that Peter and John
A rí àkọsílẹ̀ pé Pétérù
and
àti
even
Jòhánù
Mary,
àti Maria
they were running
wọ́n sáré
towards the tomb
láti lọ sí
to
ibojì
go and see Jesus
láti
Christ.
lọ rí Jésù Kristi.
John, being an youthful man,
John jẹ́ ẹni tó jẹ́
he
ọ̀dọ́kùnrin.
outrun Peter.
Ó ṣáájú Pétérù.
But when he got to the tomb,
Ṣùgbọ́n nígbà tí ó dé
he
ibẹ̀
did not enter.
kò wọlé.
He was peeping at
Ó
distance.
wá ń yọjú wò ó
But
lọ́ọ̀kan.
Peter came from behind.
Ṣùgbọ́n Pétérù kọjá
When he
lẹ́yìn
gets to
rẹ̀.
the tomb,
Nígbà tó débẹ̀
he entered
ó
straight.
wọ inú ibẹ̀ lọ.
He saw the handkerchief.
Ó wá rí aṣọ
He saw
ìkéde.
the veil that was used to tie
Ó rí
Jesus
aṣọ
Christ.
tí a fi bò ó
But
ní
he
orí.
did not wait a while long.
Ṣùgbọ́n kò dúró pẹ́.
Mary that was coming behind
Maria tó ń bọ̀ lẹ́yìn.
entered into the tomb.
Ó wọnú ibojì yìí.
She sat at the tomb.
Ó jókòó ní
She
ẹsẹ̀
searched
rẹ̀.
everywhere.
Ó wá ibi
She
gbogbo.
examined the place.
Ó wo ibẹ̀.
She cried.
Ó sọkún.
And after waiting a while,
Lẹ́yìn tó ti dúró pẹ́.
she saw two angels.
Ó wá rí áńgẹ́lì
They
méjì.
consoled him.
Wọ́n wá tù ú nínú.
And later,
Lẹ́yìn náà
he saw Jesus Christ,
ó wá rí Jésù
the
Kristi.
resurrected Jesus.
Àjíǹ
It
Jésù
is
Kristi
not how
jíǹde.
far, my people of God.
Kò ní í ṣe bó ti pẹ́ tó.
It is not how far, but how well.
Kì í ṣe bó ti pẹ́ tó ṣùgbọ́n bó
It
ti
is true
dára.
that you are born into Christianity.
Lóòótọ́ la bí ọ sínú
It
Kristẹni.
is true that you have given your life to Jesus Christ
Lóòótọ́
long
ló
time
ti
ago.
fún ayé rẹ fún Jésù
It
lọ́jọ́
is
tó
true
ti
that
pẹ́.
you hold so many positions and posts of
Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀
office in
ipò
the
ló
church.
tiẹ̀ ní nínú ìjọ
It
Ọlọ́run.
is true that you always punctual at every gathering of the
Òótọ́
children
ni
of God.
wípé ìwọ ló máa ń kọ́kọ́ dé ilé
Jesus
ìjọsìn.
Christ said in Mark 13:13,
Jésù wí nínú ìwé
he
Máàkù
said
orí
that
kẹta ẹsẹ̀
only
kẹta.
those
Iye àwọn
that endures to the
tí ó
end
bá forí tì dópin
shall be saved.
la ó gbàlà.
Mary endured to the end.
Maria forí tì
She
dópin.
was not in haste left the tomb,
Ojú ò kan láti
but
kúrò
she
ní ibojì.
waited.
Ṣùgbọ́n ó dúró.
She examined the place.
Ó wo ibẹ̀.
She endured.
Ó forí
She
tì.
cried.
Ó kígbe.
She saw the angel.
Ó rí
An
áńgẹ́lì.
angel of the Lord consoled
Àwọn
him.
áńgẹ́lì Ọlọ́run tù ú nínú.
And at the end of the
Lópin ohun gbogbo.
she saw Jesus
Ó rí
Christ.
Jésù.
I believe and I'm saying,
Mo gbàgbọ́ mo sì ń sọ
as
wípé
prophet of the living God,
gẹ́gẹ́ bí wòlíì Ọlọ́run
somebody is
alààyè.
here under this
Èèyàn
voice,
kan ń gbọ́ ohun
you
yìí.
will see the
Wàá
Lord.
rí Jésù.
I say you will see the
Wàá
Lord.
rí Olúwa.
The whole world today,
Gbogbo àgbáyé
we
lónìí.
are experiencing what I call pre-rapture.
À ń ní ìrírí ohun tí à ń pè ní ìmúrasílẹ̀ de ìpadàbọ̀
This
Jésù
is a
ìfarahàn
big
rẹ̀.
sign of end time.
Àmì tí ìkẹyìn ní èyí.
Coronavirus is shaking the whole world.
Àrùn tí ògbóògùn tí à ń sọ
Remember
ìgbógun ní
what the
gbogbo
word
ayé.
of the Lord said in Joel 3:16.
Ṣé a rántí ohun tí ọ̀rọ̀ Ọlọ́run sọ
He
nínú ìwé
said
Jóẹ́lì orí
the
kẹta
heaven and
ẹsẹ̀
the earth will be shaken.
ó ní a ó mi ọ̀run àti ayé.
But the Lord said it will be the hope and strength of his own
Ṣùgbọ́n
people.
Ọlọ́run wípé òun yóò jẹ́ ìrètí àti okun àwọn
Today.
ènìyàn lónìí.
People of this world have been locked down.
Gbogbo àwọn ènìyàn ayé yìí láti tì mọ́lé.
They are in their homes.
Wọ́n wà nínú ilé wọn.
They are afraid to even go out.
Ẹ̀rù ń bá àwọn ènìyàn láti jáde.
Many ministry, many businesses have locked down.
Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ iṣẹ́ ìránṣẹ́ àti ibi
People are
ìtajà.
wearing masks here and
Àwọn
there,
ènìyàn ń bomú káàkiri.
hiding their faces from
Wọ́n ń
coronavirus.
bojú wọn fún àìrán
As the
kòrónà yìí.
disciple of those days,
Bí àwọn ọmọlẹ́yìn
as
ìgbàanì
hiding their faces from Roman
tí
soldiers.
wọ́n ń sá pamọ́ nítorí àwọn
Brethren in the
Róòmù
Lord.
ará nínú Olúwa.
This is the vision that God revealed to Jeremiah.
Ìran tí Ọlọ́run fi hàn
In
Jeremiah
the place
nìyí.
that we read in the Old
Níbi
Testament,
tí a kà nínú májèlé
Jeremiah
láéláé.
31 verse 1.
Jeremiah orí
He said,
kọkànléní
at
ọgbọ̀n.
this same time,
Pé nírú àkókò yìí
says the Lord,
ni Olúwa wí.
will I be God of my family,
Èmi ó jẹ́ Ọlọ́run
that
àwọn
is
ènìyàn mi.
the Israel,
Èyí ni Israẹli.
and they will be my people.
Wọ́n sì jẹ́ ènìyàn
This
mi.
is the time that Jesus Christ might have conquered the Antichrist.
Nígbà yìí ni Jésù ti ṣẹ́gun
He might
sí
have
Kristi
defeated the Antichrist,
tó sì ti ṣẹ́gun tó
then
ti borí
the Israelites of those days
Ísírẹ́lì ìgbàanì
and the Israelites of these
àti
days
Ísírẹ́lì ti gbà
will
tí a wà
be
yìí
God's people,
a ó sì jẹ́ ènìyàn
and
Ọlọ́run
God himself
Ọlọ́run fúnra
will
rẹ̀
be our God.
yóò sì jẹ́ Ọlọ́run wa
Brethren,
ará
if we can obey the government and medical law
tí a bá lè gbọ́ràn sí àwọn
because of
aláṣẹ
this
àti àwọn
pandemic
elétò ìlera
virus
nítorí àìsàn tó
that
gbà
is killing people old and young,
tí ó pa
female,
ọmọdé
rich
tí ó
and the
pa
poor,
àgbà olówó àti ẹni tí ò lówó
if we can totally abide by the rules
tí a sì lè faramọ́ òfin
of washing our
pé
hands,
ká máa fọwọ́ wa
avoiding touching our nose, our
ká má máa
eyes,
fọwọ́ kan ojú àbí imú àbí ẹnu wa
avoiding shaking hands,
ká má gbọ́wọ́ pẹ̀lú
if
ẹlòmíràn
we can keep the commandment of keeping social
tí a
distance,
bá tiẹ̀ lè pa òfin pé kí a
why
máa jìnnà
is it
síra wa
difficult for us
kí wá lóde tó fi lé
to keep the law of Jesus
láti
Christ?
pa òfin Kristi mọ́
Do you believe
ǹjẹ́ o gbàgbọ́
that the law of Jesus Christ
pé òfin Kristi
is very simple
ó rọrùn
and it's
lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀
just one?
ẹyọ kan ṣoṣo náà ni
Hear the word of God
gbọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ Olúwa
in Galatians chapter 5
nínú ìwé Galatia orí
verse
karùn-ún
14.
ẹsẹ̀
He
kẹrìnlá
said, for all the laws is fulfilled in one word.
nítorí pé gbogbo òfin ni a ti pamọ́ ní ọ̀rọ̀ kan ṣoṣo
All the law is fulfilled in one word.
gbogbo òfin ni a ti
And
pamọ́
what
sí
is
ọ̀rọ̀
that
kan
word?
kí ni ọ̀rọ̀ náà
The word is love.
ọ̀rọ̀ náà ni ìfẹ́
Love your God.
fẹ́ Ọlọ́run rẹ
Love your neighbor
fẹ́ arákùnrin rẹ
as yourself.
gẹ́gẹ́ bí ara rẹ
If we can fulfill the righteousness
tí a bá lè pa òdodo yìí mọ́
and go in line with the precept of the government,
tí a sì ń tẹ̀lé ìlànà
why
tí
is
ìjọba
it
pèsè
difficult
sílẹ̀
for us
kí wá lè tó fi lé
to
fún wa
fulfill all righteousness
láti pa òdodo mọ́
and obey the law of Jesus
ká sì
Christ?
gba òfin Kristi mọ́
Cross is meaningless
àgbélébù kò ní ìtumọ̀
without the resurrection of Jesus
láì
Christ.
sí àjíǹde Kristi
And the resurrection of Jesus Christ
àjíǹde Kristi
is the hope of we Christians.
òun ni ìrètí àwa
Without
Kristiani
Jesus Christ in us,
láì sí Kristi nínú
we
wa
have no hope of
a
salvation.
ò ní ìrètí ìgbàgbọ́
Without Jesus' death,
láì sí ikú Kristi
we have no hope of forgiveness.
a ò ní ìrètí
Without
ìdáríjì
Jesus' resurrection,
láì ṣe pé Kristi
we
bá
have
jíǹde
no hope of eternal
a
life.
ò ní ìrètí
He has
ayérayé
promised
ó ti ṣèlérí
in His word,
nínú ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀
in the book, in the account of John.
nínú ìwé
He
Jòhánù
said, "Let your heart be
ó ní ẹ
troubled."
má ṣe jẹ́ kí ọkàn yín kí
He
ó
said,
dààmú
"Believe in God
ẹ gba Ọlọ́run gbọ́
and believe in me,
kí ẹ sì gbà mí gbọ́
because in my Father's house
nínú ilé bàbá
there are many mansions."
ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ibùgbé ló
He
wà
said, "If it was not be so,
ìbá má ti rí
I would
bẹ́ẹ̀
not have told
ìṣe
you."
ògbà ti sọ fún
He
yín
said, "I'm going
ó ní èmi ń lọ
to prepare the place,
láti pèsè àyè
and I will come back."
màá tún wá padà wá
Brethren,
ará
I want you to prepare for the coming of
ó
Jesus
fẹ́
Christ,
kó gbáradì fún
because
ìpadàbọ̀
Jesus
Kristi
Christ is
lẹ́ẹ̀kejì
coming back again.
nítorí Jésù tún padà
He will
bọ̀
come and guard His saints,
àwa wá láti wá kó àwọn
and all
àyàn
of us will be
àti
rapturable.
gbogbo wa la ó
We
gbà
will
sókè
fly with eagles.
a ó lọ pẹ̀lú
With
ìfẹ́
Christ.
pẹ̀lú Kristi
Christ has risen.
Kristi ti jí dìde
He's no longer among the dead.
kò sí nínú ìsàòkú
Christ has risen,
Kristi ti jí dìde
and He has conquered the dead.
ó sì ti ṣẹ́gun ikú
God has given him victory.
Ọlọ́run ti fún ní
The
ìṣẹ́gun
resurrection of Jesus Christ,
àjíǹde Kristi
it is our hope.
ó ní ìrètí
And
wa.
I pray that when Jesus Christ will appear again,
mo gbàdúrà pé nígbà tí Jésù bá
we
tún
will
padà
all be
wá
rapturable in the mighty name
gbogbo wa
of
la ó
Jesus.
gbà sókè pẹ̀lú rẹ̀ lórúkọ
Shall we
Jésù.
bow down our
ẹ
heads
jẹ́ ká tẹrí wa bá
as we pray?
bí a ti ń gbàdúrà.
Lord, we thank you. We give you praise for yet another opportunity given to us to hear your word. Your word has gone forth. We pray, oh Lord, that you explain it the more, so that all of us throughout the world listening to this word will be beneficial of this, and at the end of our journey on the planet Earth, we will all live with Christ in his eternal kingdom. For we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Let us pray. We are grateful, oh Lord. We are grateful, oh Lord, for you grateful, Lord.
We are grateful, oh Lord.
We are grateful, Lord.
We are grateful, oh Lord, for all you have done for us.
Hallelujah.
We are grateful, oh Lord.
Our Father and our God, we are grateful to you for all you have done for us, for all you have done through us, for all you have done with us. We thank you for what you are doing right now. We bless your name for what you are going to do. Father, receive all glory in the mighty name of Jesus. Father, we thank you even for the journey so far in the year 2020. We thank you because you protect us from all evils that is going on throughout the world. We thank you because you spare our life to see this day again. We thank you because we know we celebrated this Sunday last year with many people, old and young, rich and poor, but today they are no more. Being alive today, we know it is not by power, it is not by might, it is not because of position, it is not because we belong to one church or the other. It is just through your grace, unmerited favor. Father, we thank you. Accept our thanks and praises in the mighty name of Jesus. Father, we thank you once again because of our families, both near and far. We thank you because through them you make us joyful today. Lord, we thank you because of our neighbor. We thank you because of our government. Because we thank you because everything that you are providing for us. Lord, we thank you. Accept our thanks and praises in the mighty name of Jesus. Lord, we thank you even for the word that you have sent to us today, because the resurrection of Christ is our hope. Without Christ's resurrection, no hope even for the Christian. Our preaching is useless. Our believing has nothing to do, because you are risen today, we have hope that after this world, after everything here on earth, we still have another place to be with you. Father, for this reason, we gather together to celebrate the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. Father, accept our thanks and praises in the mighty name of Jesus, because you risen today. Because the death cannot hold you. Father, we pray that every death situation, every sickness anywhere in the world, we pray that you raise your healing hand upon us in the mighty name of Jesus. You will heal our land. You will heal our situation. You will heal everything concerning us in the mighty name of Jesus. Father, we pray for the whole world, because today we have no hope, we have no rest of mind, no peace. Father, you are the owner of our peace, you are the source of our hope, and we call on you this day that you open your heaven and pour down that power of resurrection and heal every land in the mighty name of Jesus. Lord, we pray that you bring to an end the power of coronavirus among us in the whole world in the mighty name of Jesus. We pray for the government of this nation. We thank you, O Lord, for the little they are able to do to curb the spread of this COVID-19. Lord, we pray that you continue to guide them in the right path in the mighty name of Jesus. For the medical personnel, Lord, we pray that you continue to protect them in the mighty name of Jesus. No evil, no sickness will befall any of the medical personnel in the mighty name of Jesus. Lord, we pray, even for those people who have caught by this coronavirus, that you will lay your healing hand upon them in the mighty name of Jesus. What medicine cannot do, what medical personnel cannot do, what the drug cannot do, Father, we believe that you can do it. And so, Lord, we call upon you that today you will lay your hand upon each and every one of them, wherever they may be, and grant them quick recovery in the mighty name of Jesus. And you will pray that you will bring an end to the spread of this virus among us in the world in the mighty name of Jesus. Father, we pray for your protection over all, especially those of us, those our children, our families who are outside the country, wherever they are. Lord, we pray that you protect them, you will guide them, you will lay your healing protection over them in the mighty name of Jesus. No sad news from anywhere to us in the mighty name of Jesus. No sickness for them in the mighty name of Jesus. No untimely death upon our families all over the world in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you, Father. Lord, we pray at this time for the needy, that there is lockdown everywhere. To eat is very difficult for most of people. Lord, we pray that you will meet everybody at the point of their need in the mighty name of Jesus. You will raise those people who are going to help them for them in the mighty name of Jesus. Lord, we pray for every homes. Father, you know every home. You know what we are passing through every home. Father, we pray that every family, you will pour upon us that Gilead oil to make us feel happy, to make us feel easy in the mighty name of Jesus. Lord, we pray for everybody hearing this voice today, that you will meet them at the point of their need in the mighty name of Jesus. As we continue our journey, Lord, we pray that you continue with us. Let your presence guide us. Let your presence go before us. Let your presence, Lord, guide each and every one of us. Father, we pray for our government, from the federal to the least. Father, we pray they are the authority that you put there today. Lord, we pray that you will guide them to direct us in the right path in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Jesus. Lord, we pray that the joy of resurrection shall be permanent in our life, even today and forevermore, in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Jesus. As we go, Lord, go with us. As we go, Lord, go with us. Meet us at the point of our need. Provide for all of us and cover us with the blood of Jesus Christ. Let your blood cover each and every one of us. Protect us, O Lord, in the mighty name of Jesus. And at the end of this virus pandemic, we pray that when we gather together again, nobody will miss among us in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Jesus. For we pray with thanksgiving in the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit rest and abide with us and our people wherever they may be this day, and even for the whole world. In Jesus' name, amen.